Hi there. My name is Harold Bennett. I'm 76. 5 years ago, I almost didn't make it. I was sitting right here, in my old rocking chair, coffee in hand, when the left side of my body went completely numb. I thought I'd just slept on it wrong. But then, my speech slurred, and my arm dropped. My granddaughter, little Ava, noticed something was off. That little girl may have saved my life. Because what I was having was a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke. The emergency doctor said I was lucky. However, I no longer believe in luck. I believe in knowing the signs and acting fast. That's what today's video is about. Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. That's more than 795,000 people a year. And it's not just the elderly, it's younger folks, mothers, lawyers, grandparents. I'm going to share with you 3 real stories. You'll see how subtle the early stroke symptoms can be, and why acting fast is the difference between walking again and never speaking again. First up, Jessica. Just 32, and 4 days after giving birth to her baby, she was home resting. She felt a little dizzy. Tried to get up, but her legs gave out. She slurred when calling her husband. He recognized the danger. They rushed to the ER. There, doctors ran a CT scan and gave her clot-busting medication. Just like that, her speech returned. Her legs worked again. She survived a mini-stroke. Now, Hugo. 62, a workaholic lawyer. He had diabetes and high blood pressure, and was drowning in stress. He ignored every warning. At 2 a.m., alone in his office, he collapsed. 10 days later, he opened his eyes in an ICU. He couldn't move the left side of his body. Then, Regina, 58. Family gathering. A strange tingling in her face. Her daughter noticed her mouth was drooping. She dismissed it. But her daughter insisted. At the hospital, they confirmed it was a transient ischemic attack, a warning stroke. That's 3 different people. 3 different lives. But the same silent killer, stroke. Do you see the pattern? A stroke doesn't always start with a dramatic fall. Sometimes, it whispers. A numb hand. A strange word. A spinning room. And when we ignore those whispers, the cost can be devastating. If you haven't yet, please like this video, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell. Share this video with your family, especially if they're over 50. Tell me in the comments, do you know someone who's had a stroke? Stay with me. Because at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you what my granddaughter did when I couldn't speak, and why I now keep a checklist taped to our refrigerator. Next, let's talk about why time is brain, and how every second matters when a stroke strikes. Ready? Let's begin. Let me ask you something personal. What is the memory you'd hate to lose the most? Is it your wedding day? The sound of your child's first cry? The first time your grandchild said your name? Now imagine this, one morning, those memories just vanish. That's what nearly happened to me 5 years ago. I was sitting on my porch, sipping coffee, when my left hand dropped the cup. My words slurred. My thoughts slowed like molasses. But here's the worst part. I didn't react. I waited. Because no one had told me the one thing I needed to know. Time is the brain. And today, I want to make sure you never forget that phrase again. Every minute a stroke goes untreated, nearly 2 million brain cells die. Every 10 minutes, it's like losing a part of yourself, your voice, your memories, your independence. When blood flow to the brain stops, even for a few minutes, it's like a fire in the mind. And if no one puts it out in time, the damage becomes irreversible. You may have heard the term, be fast, before. Let me remind you. B is for balance, sudden loss of coordination. E is for eyes, blurry or double vision. F is for face, is one side drooping? A is for arms, can both arms be raised evenly? S is for speech, is the person slurring or confused? T is for time, act immediately. When I had my transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke, I didn't recognize these signs. But my granddaughter, Ava, did. She'd seen a school poster. That's the only reason I'm speaking to you now. What saved me wasn't luck. It was knowledge, and acting fast. Modern medicine can work miracles, but only if you arrive at the hospital within the golden window. Clot-busting drugs like TPA can reopen blocked arteries. Some patients recover speech, movement, and even vision. But wait too long, and that door closes forever. I met a man named Frank at rehab. 68, retired firefighter. He had a stroke while mowing his lawn. Felt dizzy, saw double, and sat down to rest. Thought it was dehydration. By the time his wife came outside, he couldn't move or speak. Today, Frank is wheelchair-bound, unable to say more than 2 words at a time. His mistake? Waiting. That's why I carry a card in my wallet. Bold red letters: if I slur, collapse, or act confused, call 911. Don't wait. And that's why I'm asking you right now. Have you talked to your family about stroke signs? Does your elderly parent know what be fast means? Comment below, I won't wait. Say it out loud. We don't just need hospitals. We need ready homes. And if you think you're too young, think again. I've seen stroke hit 30-year-olds with high blood pressure, stress, obesity, or diabetes. This disease doesn't respect age. It respects awareness. Please, like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and share it with someone over 50. Let's make "time is brain" a household phrase. Stay with me. In the next segment, I'll explain the 2 main types of stroke. And the warning signs doctors say we ignore most often. Let me share a truth many folks don't expect: stroke is not just one thing. There are 2 very different emergencies hiding under that single word, each demanding its response. Picture Linda, a grandmother known for her rose garden and gentle laugh. She'd been managing her high blood pressure diligently, proud of her healthy routine. One afternoon, while planting tulips with her grandson, she suddenly gasped, her words scrambled, and her vision blurred. He rushed to her side, but moments later she fell to the ground. In the emergency room, doctors discovered she'd suffered a hemorrhagic stroke, a ruptured blood vessel in her brain. Blood was leaking into delicate brain tissue. Treating that with clot-busting drugs would have been catastrophic. Now contrast that with Adam, 68, who woke one morning with a slurred sentence and a heavy arm. He was diagnosed with an ischemic stroke, a clot blocking his blood flow. Doctors swiftly administered clot-busting medication and performed a procedure to remove the clot. Today, Adam walks without assistance, but time is his ally. This isn't just medical jargon, it's life and death. When a blood vessel bursts, pressure builds, brain cells are starved, and tissue is crushed. In those moments, every second adds damage. That's why you'll hear phrases like "high pressure" and "brain bleed" in the same breath. On the other hand, when a clot blocks flow, vessels beyond it are starved of oxygen. Blood can't carry nutrients, and brain cells begin to die. That's the story behind ischemic stroke, the most common type, but still deadly without action. Here's where it gets critical: if doctors treat a bleeding brain with clot-busting drugs, it's like turning a slow leak into a flood. That's why hospitals rush to scan your head, CT or MRI, to know exactly what kind of stroke they're facing. Then the treatment splits paths. With ischemic stroke, patients may receive TPA injection or undergo mechanical thrombectomy, surgical clot removal. With hemorrhagic stroke, emergency surgery may be needed, clipping, coiling, draining blood, and reducing pressure. Imagine my friend Maria. She'd had high blood pressure for years. One afternoon, she felt a strange pressure behind her eyes, plus nausea. She dismissed it as just stress and took a nap. By evening, she couldn't speak clearly. At the ER, she was diagnosed with hemorrhagic stroke. She survived, but her speech was damaged. Just 1 hour, one moment, could have changed everything. And this isn't rare. I've seen too many families shocked to learn there are different types of stroke, and yet they never ask the simple question, which one is it? That matters so much. If you've learned something new right now, please comment, I know the difference. Talk about it with someone you love tonight. Because knowing the difference between ischemic stroke and hemorrhagic stroke isn't just trivia, it's knowledge that can save a life. Now, how would you act if your parent or partner suddenly started slurring or had a twisted smile? What would you do in that first minute? Let's find out, because there's a simple checklist that can turn panic into action in seconds. It's called Be Fast, and it can help you spot a stroke before it steals your loved one's life. Imagine it now, you've just finished a peaceful walk through a quiet forest trail. The light is perfect, the air crisp, and you're thinking about dinner. Suddenly, your phone buzzes, a message from your sister, "Is Mom okay?" You smile, reply, then freeze. You notice it, the smile on your face is crooked. Your right arm feels heavy. You try to speak, but your words come out twisted. In that moment, you need to act without panic. Because in an emergency like this, that crooked smile may not just be a random twitch, it could be the first sign of a stroke. And that's why today's segment matters. These are Be Fast in action, word by word, step by step, to help you spot a stroke warning sign and respond instantly. Let's break it down. Start with B for balance. When your mom walked with you last week, was she stable? Did she wobble? One day, when she turned, did she feel dizzy? That sudden loss of coordination is a red flag. Imagine it like stepping on ice out of nowhere. If she falls or staggers, call 911 immediately. Now E for eyes. Double vision, sudden blurriness, or a loss of sight, blurry photos, text gone fuzzy, these aren't just technical issues. These are classic signs of a stroke. I've seen people dismiss this as allergies or fatigue. Don't. Just like your car, vision signals danger in your body's engine. Next is F for face. Ask the person to smile. One side drooping. Check. That's not a cosmetic issue, that's a stroke warning sign. It's like your face is broadcasting a message, help me. Make no mistakes, you might not see it on a hairline camera. You need to ask the person directly, can you smile for me? If that side won't move, don't wait. Then comes a for arms. Ask them to raise both arms. Say, lift both arms like you're holding a tray. If one drifts downward, or they can't hold it, that's a classic sign of paralysis setting in. The same for legs, but arms are easier to check in a hurry. Now, S for speech. Ask them to repeat a simple sentence, the sky is blue, or I am getting better. Slurred, jumbled, weird tone. That's a red flag you cannot ignore. And finally, T for time. You discover these signs, first 2 minutes, maybe. It's time to act. Call 911. Not later. Not after breakfast. Right now. Because every minute counts, remember, time is brain. Let me share a real example. My neighbor, Mr. Jacobs, was mowing his lawn early morning last summer. He paused at the flower bed. I waved. He smiled, but it was off. I asked him, and he couldn't lift that right arm. No words. I ran inside, and called for help. We followed Be Fast in seconds. He ended up in the ER with a stroke. They scanned immediately and gave him clot-busting drugs. He walked out of the hospital within days, recovering fully. But I also remember Mrs. Carter from the book club. She felt her vision go hazy, shrugged it off, and said she must have slept funny. 2 hours later, she couldn't talk. She reached the hospital too late. The hemorrhagic stroke ended up costing her her speech entirely. That shrug cost her voice. We can't let that happen in our families. So what I want you to do is this: find someone near you, parent, spouse, friend. Ask them now to smile, raise both arms and speak a sentence. Do it together. Be fast. Take a video. Post, "Be fast" checked, in the comments below. We need everyday heroes in our homes. You can be the one who prevents a tragedy. Stay with me. In a moment, I will share how to prevent stroke before any be fast signs even appear, because the best cure is prevention, and that's what kept me from a second attack. Imagine waking up, the morning light slipping through your window, but something feels off. You're tired, your chest feels tight, and you tell yourself it's just stress. You carry on. But the next day, your legs drag, your words slur, and suddenly, you're not in control. That moment, that slow drift into crisis is what a stroke looks like for many people. Not dramatic. Just quiet, creeping danger. That's why I believe in prevention, not panic. In my 70s now, I see health as a craft, something built daily. You don't wait for a heart attack or a stroke to make changes. You live today in a way that protects your tomorrow. It begins with what you eat. Years ago, I loved heavy meals, bacon, creamy sauces, salted everything. My doctor once told me, "Harold, you're flirting with disaster." I laughed. Until I didn't. After my heart scare, I learned about the link between high blood pressure and stroke risk. I switched to whole foods, greens, berries, oats, lean fish. My pressure dropped. My energy rose. But food is only part of the picture. Movement matters. Every morning, I walk. Not fast. Just steady. Through parks, by rivers, under trees. It clears my mind and strengthens my heart. A 30-minute walk a day is the best free medicine I know. It helps prevent both heart attacks and ischemic strokes. Then there's sleep. I used to stay up late, watching TV or scrolling through my phone. It took a toll. These days, I wind down with jazz and herbal tea. I sleep deeply, and my brain thanks me. Stress. Oh, I know stress. Bills, loneliness, memories that ache. But I fight back with breathing, meditation, and calls to old friends. Connection heals. It lowers cortisol, calms the heart, and lifts the spirit. Don't underestimate a good conversation. Of course, I monitor. Blood pressure. Glucose. Cholesterol. I keep a little notebook. When numbers creep, I adjust, before pills become necessary. That's the secret. Not fear. Not obsession. Just quiet, consistent care. Let me tell you about Claire. 74. Lived alone. Loved her solitude, but it came with frozen dinners and no movement. Then she had a TAA, a mini-stroke. It scared her. She joined a local walking group. Started cooking again. Meditated. Months later, she danced at her granddaughter's wedding. Real change, from real choice. Now, if any of this resonated, I ask you to comment, "I choose to live for my brain and heart." Share one habit you'll begin today, even if it's just taking the stairs or skipping soda. Tag someone who needs this. A brother. A friend. A neighbor. Because stroke prevention is not just medical. It's personal. And the way we live is the strongest medicine we have. So imagine this, you're sitting at the dinner table, and someone across from you suddenly drops their fork. Their speech falters. Their eyes look distant. What do you do in that moment? That question could define a life, and how you respond next might just save one. Claire's story was a wake-up call. But for every Claire who chooses to change, there's someone who freezes in the face of crisis. What if the moment to act isn't about your habits, but about saving a life in real time? It starts with something small. A glass tipping over. A strange slur in a sentence. One foot is not following the other. We often hesitate. We think, maybe it's nothing. Maybe they're tired. But in a stroke, hesitation is the enemy. When it happened to my neighbor Mark, he was sitting with his wife in their backyard. He dropped his lemonade. She laughed until she looked closer, his face had slackened. His eyes blinked unevenly. He tried to speak but only whispered gibberish. She hesitated just for a moment, then called 911. That moment, that call, saved his life. Time is the brain. Every minute after a stroke, 1.9 million neurons die. That's memory, movement, language, disappearing. The faster we act, the more we save. And the best way to act fast is to know how to spot it. That's where BFAST comes in. Balance, eyes, face, arms, speech, time. If someone suddenly loses balance, can't see, has facial droop, arm weakness, or slurred speech, don't wait. Don't Google. Don't guess. Call emergency services. My grandson learned the signs after I taught him to use apples in the kitchen. "Grandpa," he said, "if your smile ever looks like this apple cut in half, I'll call for help." That simple. That powerful. And when you make the call, be clear. Say, possible stroke. Symptoms started at time. That one sentence prepares the ER team to act the moment you arrive. It means thrombolytics might be given, or even mechanical thrombectomy procedures that can reverse a stroke if done quickly. And after you call, stay calm, but don't waste a second. Unlock the door. Bring ID and medication lists. Keep the person awake and talking if they can. Time isn't money. Time is life. I've met people who didn't act, who waited to see. Some never spoke again. Some couldn't walk. Others lived, but with regret. I say this with love, don't be polite with a stroke. Be urgent. Be bold. Be fast. If this story stirred something in you, leave a comment. I commit to learning the signs. Share this with someone you live with. You might just be their lifeline. Next, let's uncover the surprising ways everyday habits, yes, even your morning coffee, could raise or lower your risk without you knowing. Claire's recovery didn't stop with medication. It began again every single morning, with how she moved, what she ate, and the choices she made in silence. That's the real story of stroke prevention, not just what happens in hospitals, but what happens in kitchens, on sidewalks, and at bedtime. That moment of calling 911, that choice to act fast, it's only half the battle. Because once the storm passes, once the stroke is survived, what comes next is the real test, how we live each day to keep the storm from returning. Let me tell you about James. 82 years old. A retired postman. Survived a stroke last winter. When I visited him 3 months later, his face lit up, but his routine had changed. "I start my mornings," he said, "with 2 things, gratitude, and oats." That's the thing about stroke recovery, and more importantly, stroke prevention. It's not one big gesture. It's tiny rituals stacked into your day. That's how we protect our senior health, how we reclaim power from conditions like high blood pressure and heart attack risks. Nutrition comes first. Leafy greens, nuts, and whole grains. I used to ignore labels, now I seek fiber, omega-3, and potassium. Did you know potassium helps balance sodium and lowers blood pressure naturally? Bananas. Sweet potatoes. Spinach. Everyday medicine. Next, hydration. Stroke risk increases with dehydration, especially in the elderly. Water keeps blood viscosity in check. I carry a bottle everywhere. Set reminders. Even mild dehydration can trigger dizziness, confusion, or mini-stroke symptoms. And then, the secret weapon, routine movement. Not workouts. Not intensity. Just movement. Stretching while the kettle boils. Taking stairs when I can. Dancing with my granddaughter after dinner. These moments reset the body and brain. Social health matters too. Loneliness increases cortisol and reduces motivation. Every Thursday, I host tea with two old friends. We talk about nothing and everything. Laughter returns blood flow to places medicine can't reach. And here's a twist. Your teeth. Yes, poor dental hygiene is linked to higher stroke risk due to gum inflammation entering the bloodstream. So I floss. Religiously. Technology helps. Smartwatches monitor heart rate and irregular rhythms like atrial fibrillation, a major silent stroke trigger. If you can, invest in one. Or check your pulse daily, strong and steady, like your steps should be. As you listen, I ask, what one small habit will you add this week? Write it in the comments. Inspire someone else. Because prevention is not built into emergencies. It's woven into the quiet. The morning choices. The calm before anything begins. Now let's look at the invisible signals your body may already be whispering, the ones many ignore, but that could mean everything. The body speaks in whispers before it ever screams. Before a stroke strikes like thunder, there are often silent alarms, subtle signals we dismiss as fatigue, aging, or just another bad day. I remember a woman named Helen. 71. She was active, cheerful, and loved gardening. But one morning, she noticed her right hand felt weak when holding a teacup. A few days later, she struggled to find words mid-conversation. It passed. She brushed it off. A week later, she collapsed in her garden. That weakness, that hesitation in speech, was not nothing. It was a transient ischemic attack. A warning. These are the quiet signs I want you to never ignore: sudden confusion, trouble speaking or understanding words, numbness or weakness, especially on one side of the body, vision issues in one or both eyes, dizziness, and loss of balance. Even a brief episode that resolves itself could mean a mini-stroke. The medical term we use is TIA, transient ischemic attack. And while the symptoms may fade quickly, the risk they signal is deadly serious. A TIA is your body pleading for help. Here's something you should know. After a TIA, 1 in 5 people will have a full stroke within 90 days. Half of those occur within just 2 days. That's why, when something feels wrong, off balance, odd vision, slurred words, you must act. Not tomorrow. Now. Sometimes, the signs are stranger. Sudden hiccups with chest pain. Nausea for no reason. An intense, unusual headache is described as the worst ever. All these can be signs of a hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding in the brain. And then there are chronic whispers. Poor sleep. High stress. Persistent fatigue. These wear down your vascular system. They erode resilience. They make you vulnerable. That's why listening to your body, to changes, to discomforts, is the first act of stroke prevention. So if your arm feels numb, if your thoughts feel foggy, if you see shadows in one eye, don't wait. Talk to a doctor. Get checked. Keep a journal. Our elders survived not because they ignored pain, but because they respected it. Let me ask you, have you ever experienced a strange symptom that didn't quite make sense? Comment below. Someone else may recognize it, too. Because community is awareness. Sharing stories might just save a life. And now, with that understanding, let's explore what to do the moment a stroke hits, because how we respond in those first minutes can change everything. So now, we arrive at a moment of truth. After everything we've uncovered, signs, stories, science, and survival, it all narrows down to one final, quiet question: what will you do next? Will you wait until someone you love falls to the floor, unable to speak? Will you wait until the numbness, the slurred words, the ambulance sirens? Or will you act now, in the calm before the storm? This is not a video you should just like and forget. This is a call to action, a blueprint for prevention. You've just traveled through stroke warning signs, recovery stories, senior health rituals, and the truths of silent killers like high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation. These are not just medical terms. They're the crossroads of life and loss. So I ask you now, comment below with one change you will make today. Maybe it's walking after dinner, calling a loved one, drinking more water, flossing before bed. Simple actions, a massive impact. If this video gave you insight, clarity, or even a moment of pause, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more lives. It tells the algorithm that this message matters. And don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Share it with your family group chat, with your neighbor, with someone who thinks stroke only happens to other people. Because when a stroke hits, seconds count. But prevention starts now.